And infant death syndrome.
Right, sudden infant death syndrome, really sad thing. Yeah, so that would be why the Scandinavian countries have lower infant mortality rate. They have really good health care, and they put more of a priority on taking care of the family and babies. In other countries, like us, for example, we're kind of obsessed with working, which is not a good thing. But so that's the discrepancy there. But that's not the only reason.
It's not.
So don't take from class, oh, Americans work too much, so babies die. That's not directly correlated, right? I'm just throwing it out there. It's part of education in this class that other countries do things differently, and some of those things are positive effects. So infant mortality rate is lower because there's more of a priority put on prenatal and then care when kids are very little. Let's see here. Two countries I have here written down that do not have very good access to prenatal care. This was in the book. Liberia and Bolivia. Their infant mortality rate, Liberia is 54, and Bolivia is 39.
So they're bringing up the average.
So what's infant mortality rate? What's the definition?
It's out of 1,000.
Yeah, so
Right. That's crazy. Think about that. 54 out of 1,000. I mean, that's really
5%.
sad. That's really sad. Right. That's really sad. So, again, the point of this topic here is what increases, where am I? These notes are out of order here. We're going to do this later. Where is it? There it is. So what will help the infant mortality go down, right? Prenatal care is obviously really important. So if you have stats like that, and there's tons of stats out there, the countries that don't have access to health care or prenatal care, their infant mortality rates are ridiculously high. Countries like us, Sweden, France, they're lower, but we're comparable. Much lower infant mortality rate. I mean, if that wouldn't be an option here, right? I mean, it never would be 54. That's crazy. Let's see. Okay.
The average in the world is 32. That's
Well, right, okay. So average in the world is 32, and that goes along with what Will was saying with the homework. How many people are in developing countries? What percentage? 83%?
Yeah.
Right. So does it make sense that the infant mortality rate's high?
yeah.
Developing countries don't have access to these medicines or healthcare, right? So it makes sense if more people are living in those types of countries. Unfortunately, it's a byproduct of that would be infant mortality. So that, if you take Sweden's 2.5 and then Liberia's 54, I mean, you can see why it's close to, what is it again, 30, what did I tell you?
32.
32, right. Here, write this down. This is an interesting thing here. Sometimes life expectancy and infant mortality, and we're going to talk about life expectancy next. Sometimes life expectancy and infant mortality, I'm just going to read you what I wrote here, word for word, for a country is very different than the life expectancy and infant mortality for a specific population in the country. Very different. Can't read and write and think at the same time. Very different than the life expectancy and infant. It's kind of wordy, but I don't know how else to word this. The life expectancy and infant mortality rates for an entire country could be very different than specific people or populations in that country. That's what I'm writing. Life expectancy and infant mortality for a specific population in that country.
Team Delay.
elaborate? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I try not to just give you guys notes without examples. Yeah, so I looked up, actually what I found, and this Gapminder website I do want to go to again, just because it's pretty cool. There's a quiz that we can maybe take today. I took it in that workshop and failed miserably. So you'll see. The questions are like, how would you know this? But now that we went through it, maybe we'll do better. We'll see. But I got from the book 2015. You can just write these down as I'm saying them here. The USA was 5.8. That's infant mortality rate. We already had that in 2017. So 2015, our country, infant mortality was 5.8. African Americans, 2015, infant mortality rate was 12. Native Americans, 7.6. Caucasians, 5.3.
What was Native American?
Native American was 7.6. African American, 12. Caucasians, 5.3. So that's exactly what that means. And
what was natives?
7.6.
Native American 7.6. Now, so the average of the country is 5.8.
White's 5.
Yet African American 12, Native American 7.6, Caucasians 5.3. So just knowing those three, Hispanics are a big part as well. I don't have data on that right here, and that's a whole spectrum of people. So it gets a little confusing with that. But anyways, if you just take those three numbers, how come it's only 5.8?
Because there's lots more white.
Right, there's more of the Caucasians, right? So that balances it out. So what's going on?
I don't know. Most.
Why African American, Native American higher than Caucasians?
They get less healthcare.
Yeah, so the disproportionate, use of resources or availability or access, right? So, and you can pick other countries and look at different genders. You can look at gender in the United States. I don't have the gender data, but it's probably not the same. It's probably more comparable, but without making this a bigger, topic or conversation about races and all of that, because we need to kind of stick to the numbers, even though that stuff is interesting to talk about. A lot of times people of color just don't get what white people get in this country. Just period. They don't have access, and they're just it's just the system. The system's flawed. It's getting better, but that's a great example, and it's sad. It is what it is right now, but things are changing, and the older generations kind of, I'll just say, I don't think did things the right way. Younger generations, I think, are doing things better, different. As far as things are going to be more equally distributed, I hope. Anyways, but that, when I was taking the notes, I was like feeling kind of crappy about that. And I was telling my buddy last night that in this class, I'm looking up these stats in the United States compared to other countries, and it's almost like I feel embarrassed at some of these numbers. It's just because, we need to do things better in this country. But anyways, let's move on and not get too stuck on that. But anyways, yeah, there it is. So again, you go to any country, go online and look at the stats. So the overall value doesn't really explain what's really going on in the country. You got to look at individual populations. All right, let's see here. And there is a chapter in this book, and they talk about environmental justice. And I'm not going to get into that right now, but that kind of explains this a little bit, how there's a disproportionate use of resources in healthcare, for example. And I'll just tie this to climate change. So I've said this before, I'll say it again here now and then probably a lot down the road here in the class. What countries feel the climate change more?
Coast.
Near the equator.
Developed or developing? Developing, right? So basically, the worst part of this climate change and global warming is the poor people and developing countries of the world are going to get hit the hardest. Why is that the worst? Why is that the worst
Because
part?
they're the people.
They're not equipped to deal with it, right?
And
So
aren't they usually usually the like least people contributing.
And that's the irony, or I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, irony, yes. And we're going to talk about that briefly today when we talk about migration, just briefly, that you could take one person in a developing country, and I mean one person in a developed country, and they use as many resources and contribute to the climate issue as like 3 or 4 people in developing countries. Yet they're the ones that are feeling the brunt of it. So, anyways, that I like that part of this class. It gets you guys thinking of other things, social things. So, anyways, that's infant mortality. Now, life expectancy. I just have a little bit of notes on this. We already kind of covered this a little bit here. We got the definition. What's the biggest reason life expectancy is going up basically across the board? Healthcare and medicine, right. Healthcare and medicine. And one other I would say is a big one. Healthcare, medicine.
Sanitation.
All right, yeah, let's list them all. Healthcare, medicine, sanitation. Clean water.
Nutrition.
Clean air, nutrition.
Hygiene.
And another big one. Everybody needs this. What? Technology. Okay, yes, technology is. There's destructive technology and constructive technology. So we'll talk about that.
Agriculture?
You're missing one big one that all people should get, but don't have it. You're getting it right now. Education. Education's a big one. Okay. The more education you have, the better choices you're gonna make.
Oh, that's right.
And you're gonna have a better life if you have more education. But that's not anything groundbreaking I'm saying there. Why are this is interesting here? Why are males dying before females? Because they're stupid.
Because
I mean I'm not gonna disagree completely. Let's make it a little bit more scientific though.
males.
They make worse decisions.
No, like that's literally.
Absolutely, it's in the book. It's in the book. So, it's in the book right here.
It ain't in the Bible though.
Well, that's a book. It's the book, right, Zeke? That some people say. I know we're joking here. We're joking here. That's really funny to me. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, religion is fascinating because all these different religions have different books, and it's
Are you religious?
no.
Okay.
But I have no problem with people being religious. So don't take that the wrong way. If you're super religious and that's what you believe in and that's what gives you guidance or focus or whatever, that's your thing. That's great. Good for you. That doesn't affect me either way. Well, when I say I'm not religious, let me explain it. I do believe, and the older I get, I believe there is something.
So you're agnostic.
There is something.
So you're not totally atheist.
Well, I just feel like there's an energy, and maybe this is the science kind of part. There's an energy that is kind of around and going through everything, and everything works together. So, like, I do believe, like, some butterfly floating around in Asia and me are somehow connected with this energy on Earth.
So you're one of those crystal people?
No. I know what I just said sounds
I don't know how to
crazy.
describe
No,
it.
that made
But
no, it makes sense.
what I mean is, it's not necessarily a religion with me. I just think everything is here for a reason,
It fits together.
Well,
and,
but,
and-
like,
and things work together.
After death, like what do you believe? Like reincarnation, like
I have a hard time with
Wait,
that.
how do you explain bad things then?
yeah.
So, right. So,
I don't
Like
get
a
how people.
punishment?
I don't get how
so
people.
we're getting a little off topic here, and I'm being recorded, which is interesting. I gotta be careful here. So when people talk about God and religion and God's plan, and like it's all part of a plan, and we're not meant to understand that. Like some people, you guys have probably all heard that at some point. And a lot of religions operate on the same, not just Christian, the same wavelength. Like things happen for a reason. We don't have to understand that reason. So how do I reconcile that, right? So I'm not super religious. So when really bad things happen, I do struggle. Like I have trouble. And there's other people and friends of mine who are more religious, and they find peace that, well, it had to happen for some reason, and I'm not supposed to know that. So I can see how I appreciate that people can can grab onto that and it helps them get through tough times. I have trouble with that personally because I have trouble thinking that way. So that's a great question. I'm not answering. Sometimes I just get upset and depressed for a while and like, I don't know why bad things happen. But when I step back and think, when I just talk about the butterfly, I know it's kind of a weird example. For some reason, I think kind of along the lines of religion, I mean, bad things happen for some reason. It's all part of what's happening on earth. And you can't have all good things happen. Bad things must happen. I don't know why, and I don't like it. But I guess that's my answer. It's kind of like a balance. Kind of like birth rate and death rate. There's got to be a balance. So, I don't know. Let's move on here, because I'm starting to get...
Everything fits together way too well for it to be coincidence.
So, yeah, so anyways, that's my deal. So anyways, moving on. Here we go. Men over time have typically faced greater danger in workplace, more hazardous lifestyle choices. They no, stay with me. They die in wars, not so much right now, which is a good thing, and biological reasons. So when they say hazardous lifestyle choices, that means they're making dumb decisions. All right.
Like insurance, guys' insurance are higher than girls.
Yeah. So way higher, and they should be.
Teenage
It used to be-
Males getting more
male
car accidents than
drivers.
females.
Yeah, it used to be like when you get your license, like male insurance went up way higher
Yeah.
than females, but it's not as bad anymore.
It's getting
It's not
better.
as much of a difference.
So, I don't, want to say like boys are dumb, girls are smart. 'Cause that's not true. All right, but I do. I mean, I'm a guy, so I mean, I know decisions I've made, and I've made some bad ones. I mean, women make this bad decisions too, but it does seem like.
I feel like their bad decisions aren't as bad.
No, I think you're probably right.
So much worse.
I think you're probably right. On the whole scale of what's worse, probably guys making worse decisions. But actually, you know what? I would be interested to know, and Mr. Lemire would probably know, and we could look it up online. But like, what's the percentage of incarcerated males versus females?
Oh, it's like crazy.
Males is probably way higher than males. So that's just an example, right? So, anyways, this life expectancy gap should change over time and should close. Why? Why should it close? So hopefully they both keep going up, but the males should not die off as quick, or maybe females might come down a little. Why?
Less war, like wars and stuff.
Okay, less war. There's more females than males in our country. More females.
Yeah, it's 51%.
I think he's right. I think it's 51%. Look at the age structure diagram.
There's a segment in NPR called 51%,
Yeah.
so it's about women.
Anyways, so think about as our society becomes, we'll just use the word more progressive. What does that mean? Yeah, so women are doing all the same things as men. 50 years ago, that was not the case. So if women and men are doing the same things, making the same decisions, life expectancy should be about the same. Now, there are certain diseases that men are prone to and women are prone to, but that's starting to balance out as well. Like heart disease used to be just males. Now, I think, don't quote me, and again being recorded here, so don't quote me, I think heart disease is the #1 killer of women. I think. But people don't think of it. They think guys, who drink and smoke get heart attacks. Well, women get it too. It happens to women too. But anyways, things are starting to balance out, I think, with that. All right, so that's life expectancy. Moving on, we're getting some heavy stuff here. All right, next, age and disease. I'm just going to zip through this here. Here, take a little bit of notes on this here. How much time do I have?
3 minutes.
Age and disease. Yeah, we do. Don't worry, we have a whole other period. All right, here we go. Write this down here. Sometimes countries with high life expectancy and low infant mortality. So sometimes countries that have a high life expectancy and low infant mortality will also have a high CDR. Will or can, maybe can is the word. can have a high crude death rate. And if you look at the title of the section here, age and disease, why would that be?
You get older, they're more prone to having disease.
Yep, and then what?
Die.
Yeah. So if you have a age structure diagram that is an inverted pyramid, what does that mean?
Old
A
people.
lot of old people, population will be declining, they will start to die. So you may, at the bottom of the pyramid, right, have people giving birth and the babies are surviving. So your infant mortality is low. And people may live to 85. So high life expectancy. But if a population has a, bless you, high percentage of old, elderly people and they start to die, that will increase your crude death rate. So this is just kind of interpreting numbers, and if you were to be asked a question about this, come up with a possible reason, that would be why. It's because there's a lot of elderly population and they will start to die off. The USA has 15% of its population 65 or older, crude death rate of 8. Mexico, this is just the examples I found in the book, Mexico has 6% of their population 65 and older, so their crude death rate is 5. So again, because the U.S. has a fairly older population, a pretty good percentage, that's what's increasing CDR. Now, diseases are the second biggest killer after heart attacks. I looked that up. World Health Organization says so. So diseases are second to heart disease. In the past, it was tuberculosis and malaria. Currently, it is HIV and AIDS. That disease is a pretty significant killer. And let's see, what did I write? 2016, there was 1 million deaths due to AIDS-related deaths. There was 1 million in 2016. So deaths related to HIV and AIDS. And have you learned this stuff in health? Talk about this a little bit. It's gone down, which is a good thing. But from 1990 to 2015, there was 30 million AIDS-related deaths.
And 2 people cured.
2 people cured. All right. Let's take a break, and we'll pick up with that. We're going to get to demographic transition, and then we'll start hopefully on the next unit.